My fiancée dumped me Tuesday. Now she's demanding our apartment tomorrow for her Valentine's date. She said, "You're just dead weight I've been dragging along," so I told her she could explain that to her family when I called them all tonight. I'm 26M, been with my fiancée Eva, 25F, for 4 years, engaged for 1. 3 months ago, I quit my marketing job in Phoenix and burned every bridge to follow her to Seattle for her dream position at some digital marketing firm. Used up my savings for deposits, moving costs, the whole 9 yards. Eva said we were building our future together. Tuesday night she comes home and drops this bomb. "I've met someone at work who makes me feel alive in ways you never have." We have this immediate connection that's stronger than anything we've shared. His name's Max, some pretentious photographer who thinks he's an artist because he takes pictures of coffee cups. Here's the kicker: she wants me out of our apartment by tomorrow afternoon because she's bringing Max over for Valentine's Day. Our apartment that I helped pay deposits for with my life savings. The apartment where I'm not even on the lease because we were planning to buy a house soon anyway. I'm unemployed in a city where I know nobody except her coworkers. My sister Octavia back in Phoenix has been texting me about plane tickets home, but Eva's acting like my homelessness is some puzzle I need to solve myself. I can't be responsible for your living situation anymore, That's not my problem to figure out. The ball's on this woman. She wants to celebrate the most romantic day of the year by kicking me out so she can bring her affair partner into our bed. I spent last night in my car in a Walmart parking lot because I couldn't handle watching her text him while sitting next to me on our couch. Max actually had the audacity to message me on Instagram yesterday saying I should move on gracefully and that Eva deserves to follow her heart. This dude doesn't even know me, and he's giving me life advice about my 4-year relationship. Eva's sister Persephone called me this morning horrified. Even for Eva, this timing is cruel beyond belief. At least someone in her family has a conscience. I've got maybe $300 to my name and nowhere to go. Part of me wants to just ghost to Phoenix and let Eva explain to everyone why her fiancé mysteriously vanished right before Valentine's Day. But another part of me thinks I shouldn't have to flee my own apartment because she decided to trade up. Reddit, what would you do? Am I crazy for thinking there's something fundamentally wrong with using Valentine's Day as your relationship victory lap over the guy you just destroyed? She keeps saying, "The heart wants what it wants," like that justifies turning the day of love into my public execution. I'm sitting in this Starbucks typing this because I can't even go home without seeing her prep our place for her date with my replacement. The worst part, I still have my grandmother's charm bracelet I was going to give her tomorrow. Spent weeks planning this romantic surprise, and now she's planning her own romantic surprise in our apartment while I'm basically homeless. How the hell did my life turn into a country song this fast? Edit. Holy shit, you guys are right. I'm not leaving. If she wants to bring her boyfriend to our apartment for Valentine's Day, they can be uncomfortable together. I'm going home. Update 1. Thanks for all the support. You convinced me to stand my ground. But the confrontation was devastating. Sorry for the late update. My phone screen cracked when I threw it against the wall last night, and I just got it fixed this morning. Still, can't believe this is actually my life right now. So I took Reddit's advice and went back to the apartment around 3 p.m. yesterday. Eva was in full preparation mode, candles everywhere, wine chilling. She'd even changed the sheets. Our sheets that we picked out together at Target last month. "What are you doing here, I told you I needed space tonight." "Yeah, well, I live here too. If you want to bring your boyfriend over, that's your choice, but I'm not making it easy." She went ballistic. Started screaming about how I was being petty and vindictive, and that I was ruining her chance at happiness. I reminded her that I just wanted to exist in my own living space, and she could reschedule her victory celebration. Eva called Max crying, and apparently he was disappointed in my lack of maturity. This from the guy who's been screwing his coworker's fiancée for weeks. The irony is thick enough to cut with a knife. My sister Octavia kept texting me to just come home to Phoenix. "I'll Venmo you money for a plane ticket right now. You don't have to put yourself through this." But something about running away felt like giving them exactly what they wanted. Around 6 p.m., Eva's sister Persephone showed up unannounced. She took one look at the romantic setup and just stared at Eva. "Are you seriously doing this, on Valentine's Day, in front of Dash?" "Persephone, this is none of your business. Dash and I are over and I have every right to move on." "Move on? Eva, it's been 3 days, and you're making him watch you celebrate with his replacement." Even Persephone left shaking her head. "I can't be part of this. This is cruel even for you." Here's where I maybe should have taken the high road, but I was so angry and desperate I made the stupidest decision of my life. I decided to give Eva my grandmother's charm bracelet anyway. I thought maybe if I reminded her of what we meant to each other, she'd at least postpone the Valentine's humiliation. Around 7:30, I knocked on the bedroom door where she was getting ready. "Eva, I know we're over, but I set this aside for you weeks ago. It belonged to my grandmother. She wanted me to give it to someone I truly loved, and I wanted you to have it because what we had was real, even if it's over now." She looked at the bracelet, and I swear I saw something flicker in her eyes. For half a second, I thought maybe the cruelty would stop. That's when the front door opened and Max walked in with roses. "Babe, you ready for our—" He stopped dead seeing me standing there with the jewelry box. Eva's face went completely cold. "Dash, this is pathetic. I don't want your grandmother's jewelry. I don't want anything that reminds me of the last 4 years." She handed the box back to me in front of Max. "This is exactly why we don't work. You're stuck in the past while I'm trying to build a future." Max actually laughed. "Dude, you're really doing the desperate X thing on Valentine's Day? That's rough." I just stood there holding my grandmother's bracelet while my fiancée and her affair partner looked at me like I was some pathetic stalker who wouldn't take a hint. The humiliation was so complete I couldn't even form words. "Maybe you should find somewhere else to stay tonight," Eva said, not even looking at me anymore. "Max and I want privacy." I grabbed my keys and wallet and just left. Ended up sleeping in the building's stairwell because I couldn't afford a hotel and my car was too cold. Some Valentine's Day. This morning I woke up to texts from both of them. "Eva, your behavior last night was completely inappropriate." "Max, maybe it's time to accept reality and move on." The worst part is they're not wrong. I did look desperate and pathetic, but what was I supposed to do? Just disappear so they could have their romantic evening in peace? My buddy Jake from my old job called and wants to kick Max's ass, but I told him not to drive up from Phoenix. This isn't a problem you can solve with violence. I'm writing this from the apartment while they're both at work. Eva left a note saying I need to figure out my living situation by the weekend. She's already moved most of my stuff into boxes. I keep thinking about how she looked when I offered her my grandmother's bracelet. For a split second, she almost seemed sorry. But then Max walked in and she turned back into someone I don't even recognize. 4 years together, and this is how it ends with me sleeping in a stairwell while she celebrates our breakup with my replacement. I knew heartbreak hurt, but I didn't know it could make you feel this empty. But here's the thing, something happened this morning that changes everything I thought I knew about why Eva really wanted me gone last night. Update 2: Wi-Fi's been down all weekend. Finally got it sorted. Can't believe it's been a year since I posted about the Valentine's Day disaster. Life had some surprises in store. So after sleeping in that stairwell, I swallowed my pride and flew back to Phoenix. Octavia picked me up at the airport and didn't say, "I told you so," even once, which is how I knew she was worried about me. My old boss Augustus offered me my job back at slightly better pay, said the company missed my marketing ideas. Took me about 3 months to stop checking Eva's social media like a masochist. She was posting constantly about Max's artistic vision and their authentic connection. Real deep stuff like pictures of his coffee art and quotes about following your passion. The funny part is what happened at Eva's company. Turns out Max wasn't just having an affair with Eva. Apparently, this dude was working his photographer charm on half the women in the office. My buddy Jake did some digging through mutual connections and found out Max had been building authentic connections with at least 2 other coworkers while he was with Eva. Eva found out in September when she walked into the supply closet and caught Max with some 22-year-old intern. According to Persephone, Eva lost her shit and made a huge scene that had HR involved and everything. Max got fired for creating a hostile work environment. But here's where it gets really interesting. Instead of dumping him, Eva doubled down, quit her dream job to support Max's artistic journey, and they moved in together. Within 8 months, they were married. 8 months! The same woman who took 4 years to get engaged to me married her affair partner faster than most people train for a marathon. Persephone called me around Christmas, completely horrified. I need to tell you what's happening with Eva because it's so insane I can't keep it to myself. Turns out Max convinced Eva to invest her savings into his photography gallery concept. Some pretentious art space where he could showcase his vision, while Eva worked retail to pay their rent. The gallery failed within 6 months because, shockingly, pictures of coffee cups don't draw massive crowds. Their marriage started falling apart immediately. Max became controlling and condescending, treating Eva like his personal ATM while criticizing everything from her career choices to her appearance. According to Persephone, Eva went from this confident career woman to someone who apologizes for existing. He tells her she's too conventional for his artistic lifestyle, but then expects her to fund it, Persephone said. She's working 2 jobs while he sits around complaining about how society doesn't understand true art. The best part, Eva's parents and siblings can't stand Max. Her dad, who loved me like a son, refuses to be in the same room with him. At least Dash had a work ethic and treated our daughter with respect, her mom told Persephone. Meanwhile, I've been rebuilding my life in Phoenix. Got promoted to senior marketing coordinator, found this great apartment near Camelback Mountain, started hiking again. Met someone too, Serafina, a teacher at the local elementary school. She's nothing like Eva, which is exactly what I needed. Serafina would never use Valentine's Day as a weapon. When I told her the story about Eva, she just shook her head and said, "Someone who loves you doesn't weaponize holidays." That's emotional terrorism. I've been going to therapy with Dr. Cross to work through the humiliation trauma. She helped me understand that Eva's cruelty said nothing about my worth and everything about her character. When someone chooses the most romantic day of the year to maximize your pain, they're showing you exactly who they are. The crazy thing is, I'm grateful now. That Valentine's Day humiliation forced me to rebuild my entire life, and the new version is so much better than what I had before. I never responded to any of Eva's family when they tried to stay in touch, which probably seemed cold. But I realized that keeping connections to her world just kept me anchored to the worst experience of my life. Dr. Cross calls it trauma bonding, when you stay psychologically connected to someone who hurt you because the pain feels familiar. Breaking free meant cutting all those threads, even the ones that felt comfortable. Last month, Serafina and I were talking about taking a weekend trip to Sedona, and I realized I hadn't thought about Eva in weeks. Not because I was forcing myself not to think about her, but because she genuinely faded into being just someone I used to know. That's when I understood that the woman who humiliated me with my grandmother's bracelet and celebrated our breakup on Valentine's Day was never really the person I thought I loved. I was in love with a projection, a fantasy version that existed only in my head. The real Eva was always someone who could discard 4 years of partnership without considering my basic dignity. I just couldn't see it until she showed me explicitly. But apparently the story isn't over yet, because last week I got a call that made me realize Eva's marriage isn't just struggling, it's completely imploding, and she's starting to remember what she threw away. Final update: been dealing with car trouble, crazy few days. Finally got time to update you guys on the latest chapter of this insanity. So Eva's marriage to Max has completely collapsed. Persephone filled me in on everything during an unexpected phone call last week. Apparently Max has been cheating with multiple women, including some 19-year-old muse he met at a coffee shop. Eva caught him when she came home early and found them in their bed. The same bed where she celebrated dumping me on Valentine's Day 2 years ago. The irony is so perfect it feels like fiction. But it gets better. Max not only cheated, he's been financially bleeding Eva dry for his failed artistic ventures. After the gallery bombed, he convinced her to invest in a photography workshop series, that was really just an excuse for him to travel around hitting on aspiring models. Eva's been working 2 jobs while he burns through her money chasing teenage Instagram photographers. When Eva confronted him about the cheating, Max told her she was too emotionally needy, and that their marriage was stifling his creative growth. He moved out last month to live with the 19-year-old, leaving Eva with all their shared debt and a lease she can't afford alone. Here's where it gets weird, though. Eva's been trying to contact me through mutual connections for the past 3 weeks. Started with her asking Persephone to see how Dash is doing, and escalated to her actually asking for my phone number. I haven't responded to anything, but Persephone told me what Eva's been saying. I made a terrible mistake during an emotional time. Dash was the best thing in my life, and I destroyed it for nothing. She apparently wants to apologize properly, and see if there's any chance we could reconnect as friends. According to Persephone, Eva claims she realizes now that what she did on Valentine's Day was unforgivably cruel, and that she's been regretting it ever since. The funny thing is, I don't feel angry anymore. I don't feel anything at all about Eva except mild curiosity about someone I used to know who made some spectacularly bad choices. Serafina and I moved in together last month. She knows the whole story and just laughed when I told her about Eva's reaching out. Let me guess now that her upgrade turned out to be a downgrade. She wants to see if her safety net is still available. That's exactly what it is. Eva burned her life down chasing someone who turned out to be everything I wasn't: unreliable, selfish, financially irresponsible, and fundamentally disloyal. Now she's discovering that the boring, stable guy she humiliated was actually the good choice. But here's what Eva doesn't understand. I'm not the same person she discarded 2 years ago. That guy would have probably taken her back and tried to make it work. He was so desperate to be loved that he'd accept any treatment just to avoid being alone. The person I am now learned that my worth isn't determined by someone else's inability to recognize it. I learned the difference between love and desperation. I learned that someone who weaponizes holidays to maximize your humiliation doesn't deserve access to your emotional recovery. Dr. Cross and I talked about Eva's attempts to reconnect, and she pointed out something interesting. Notice how Eva's reaching out coincides perfectly with her consequences arriving. This isn't about recognizing your value, it's about escaping her current reality. I've blocked Eva's number without reading any messages. Not out of anger, but because I genuinely have nothing to gain from that conversation. She wants to apologize to make herself feel better about the cruelty, not because she's actually changed as a person. Serafina asked me if I ever wonder what if about Eva, and honestly, no. Someone who uses Valentine's Day to celebrate humiliating their partner of 4 years has shown you exactly who they are. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. I'm planning to propose to Serafina next month during our Sedona trip. Found this beautiful vintage ring that actually belonged to my grandmother, the same woman whose bracelet Eva rejected during my most vulnerable moment. The symbolism feels perfect, giving something precious to someone who deserves it instead of someone who'd throw it back in your face. Eva wanted to use the most romantic day of the year to demonstrate her power over me. Instead, she accidentally set me free to find someone who would never dream of weaponizing love. Life has a funny way of delivering perfect karma. Eva chose cruelty and got someone who was cruel to her. I chose healing and found someone who values loyalty. Sometimes the best revenge really is just living well. She can keep trying to reach out. I'll keep living my actual life with someone who knows that love doesn't involve humiliation tactics. Some bridges should stay burned.